How's it going, everybody? And welcome to another session of the Let's Talk show by Interlingua. I am Mike Reese, as usual, and I'll be your host for the night. The time has come, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about a very important topic that concerns us all as society. You can easily open up your social media, open up your Facebook, and come across several posts, several memes, several informations on the matter. But just how exactly do we really get into this specific information? How often do we really talk about it? How often do we are interested in to actually do something about it? Well, tonight's show is going to do a little bit of an insight on this matter. Machismo, feminism. Today, stick until the end because today should be very interesting. And also, I invite all of our viewers, that means you, to leave a comment on the comment section telling us about your perspective, telling us about your focuses on this matter. Tonight, we have two ladies that have, let's say, approached this topic from very, well, not very, but with different perspectives. Not contrarily, just different. Let's get to know them a little bit. Without further ado, let's begin. Let's bring out Fer coming back in the Let's Talk show, and let's bring out Saskia making her debut in the Let's Talk show. Ladies, good to see you. How are you?
Hi, thanks. We're fine.
Oh, you were waiting for the other one to. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought
Doing
we were
good,
having
doing good.
trouble with it. Thought we were having trouble with the transmission. I'm like, nah, not today, not right now. Please. Oh my God. Wow. Thank you so much for taking your time, being here, for participating, and let's do this little by little. Small steps to the big thing. First of all, let's talk about things in general. What does feminism mean to you guys, Fer?
Oh God, why me first? Oh my God. Well, to me, feminism means protecting and like giving the chance to women to succeed in our current society. So, like, regardless of background, regardless on I don't know context, it just means pushing other women forward, like this kind of sorority feeling, I guess I would say.
You said a big word that, I mean, I know the meaning, but it's amazing how a lot of people still are unfamiliar with the meaning of sororism. Can you please tell me the definition or a little bit of info about it?
Regarding the word, sorry. So
Yes. For some people, it's still a new word or a word that they haven't even heard before, and I was shocked when I found out about it. But just a little piece of information for all our viewers in case they don't know it.
okay, so sorority, I mean it as women grouping together, interacting with each other, again protecting each other and lifting each other up.
Basically. Thank you. Saskia, same question for you. What does feminism mean to you?
I also think it's a difficult question, difficult to define maybe. And I see it more like it's looking for equity among the sexes, and you can have that, like Fer said, unless you have equity in other aspects like financial equity and race equity, and everybody's treated like equals. And I think it's not just that sorority for women. I think feminism also is really important for men because there are many things men are also suffering from the system we're in. And feminism, for me, is really looking for us to be not equal, but like equity. I don't know if that's the correct word, like equidad.
I want you also to tell me, if that's okay with you guys, uh, your personal experiences. What challenges have you faced in society by being women? Fer.
Um, I mean, it's pretty hard, and we all know this because like safety would be like my main struggle. Like so, I studied all my life in a little city in Pachuca, Hidalgo, and then I moved for university to Mexico City. And I remember that one of the first things, like when I got my results from the university, like one of the first things my family told me was like, but where are you going to live and who are you going to live with? You can't be there alone because like something's going to happen to you. Like it's a very big city, there's a lot of people, you don't know what's like lurking around the corner, you know? Like that was their main reaction, like that kind of like concern, you know? So and I mean, yeah, I lived in Mexico City for almost 3 years, and it is exhausting, all the things that you as a woman have to do to just like walk in the street, you know? Like be careful, look behind you, don't use their earphones, like carry something in your hand, beware of even how you wear your hair, like your hairdo. It's like if you wear it as a ponytail or something, it's easy for someone to grab you, and like thinking about all of those things every single day just by going to school or going to work, it is really draining.
Wow.
Yeah.
Saskia?
I think, yeah, being safe and feeling insecure is the hardest thing. Um, I am also from Mexico City. I don't live there currently, but I think in Mexico City it's extremely exhausting just walking down the streets and having people yell at you just because you exist. It doesn't matter how you're dressed, they're going to yell at you and you're not going to feel comfortable. And everybody is looking at you in a certain way and trying to get closer to you. And I don't know a woman that lives in Mexico City and uses public transport like every day that hasn't been like touched or gotten too close to. So it's just like things that happen every day and nobody really talks so much about it because it just happens and we're used to ignoring it and we're used to not saying anything about it. So if somebody yells at you, you can't yell back. You can't say anything because you're so afraid that they will do something else to you. And yeah, also if in the subway like somebody gets too close or touches your butt or does something like that, you should yell, you should say something, you should speak about it. But we're used to saving everything up. We're just saying nothing because it's safer, because you don't know what will happen, if somebody will be there for you or not. So I think that's the hardest part. And I know Mexico City is like really it can be dangerous for everyone, but it's just an extra level when you're a woman. And it's also like you cannot dress however you like because you have to be more careful. You can't really wear shorts. That's just not an option, for example, for many people. You can't go out late at night, or you have to be like super careful. You can't go to a bar and then go home at whatever hour you want, are not by yourself. You have to be careful about how much you drink or what you drink because it can have something else in it. You just have to be careful always. And I think there are other struggles that women face, but that's the hardest, I guess.
Another struggle that women faced, and like you said, it happens every day, and we're used to ignore it, or we sadly look at it as normal, which is
Yeah.
sexism. Sexism. You guys, I believe, as I understand, that you guys are, well, speaking with Fer, that she's right now in a student environment, and Saskia, you're in a working environment. Do you notice nowadays sexisms in your corresponding environments, school, work? Fer.
Yeah, I mean, I studied at UNAM, so recently there's been a very sensitive issue, and like it happens
Yeah.
in school environments, like things that I have personally seen or experienced. I was really surprised when I got there to find out that there are panic buttons in the bathrooms in different schools, only in the women's bathrooms. So I remember the first time I saw one, I was so in shock because I have never found myself before in an environment like that.
Mhm.
And I mean, coming from a little bubble of privilege, like it was just a waking up call, you know? And also, I had the luck of being in a school, like, there's university and there are the different schools, like School of Engineering, the School of Medicine. I had the luck of being in a school that was, the teachers were predominantly female or women. So that gave me a sense of security. But I also noticed that there were some male teachers or man teachers that had certain attitudes towards the female students. I remember one of the teachers had this ongoing, like, I don't know if you call it a fight with another student, female
Mhm.
student, because she was very outspoken. And when the teacher was wrong about something, she would point it out and say, like, hey, this is wrong. This is not how it's supposed to be. And he didn't like that. But when other male students maybe pointed something out or wanted to voice their concerns, he would react as if it was just like friends talking or something like that. And that was very suspicious at first. And
Oh,
by the end
yeah.
of like the semester, it was pretty notorious. So again, these are all, like what I have mentioned, are all like different degrees of how the same like violence may be affecting us in a school environment.
What about you, Saskia?
Well, I've always worked long distance, like on my computer. So I think it's very different when you have a personal relationship with people. They always look at you different, and it's always a thing about what you wear or what you don't. There are things like that that have a different impact when you're just on a computer. And in the place I work now, people are extremely polite. Um, Everything can be taped, and they have very strict regulations. So there is no harassment. So there is no treating people differently. So everything is very nice here. In the place I worked before, it was a consultant agency, and the people I worked with were really nice, and I didn't feel any differentiation. But when we were talking with clients, I worked with two men, and they always asked them first. So the questions about, oh, I don't really like this model, or where does this thing come from, are always directed to them. And after I answered the questions, because maybe I was the person in charge, then they said, oh, it's you. Okay, then I'll direct myself to you. But the first idea is to go to the man. Yeah.
Oh,
uh, I'm an applied mathematician, and I work in data science. And in math and in computer science, they're mostly men. Uh, every time there's a little bit more women in the area, but you just get used to being around men all the time. And I remember when I was studying, it was like, I don't know, 60%, no, like 70 or 80% men and just 20% female or women. And at the beginning, they do treat you a bit differently. They talk differently when you're around them than when they talk by themselves. And you sometimes got to learn like to talk like them or to laugh at their jokes, even if they're sexist or even if you're not like, if you don't agree with them. So you can fit in. So if they make a joke, or they see a girl and they say a comment that you're like, how can you say that comment? You just have to laugh and go on with it if you want to be included, or if not, they'll exclude you and they'll never say comments of any kind in front of you. So it's really weird. And when I was studying, again, most of the teachers were men, most of the students were men. So teachers were used to making like comments that weren't appropriate at all. Like I remember a teacher that made so many comments about women, like we're super sensitive, or like we are treacherous and we cheat, and things like that that aren't appropriate. Like you're talking about math. Why would you need to say those comments? So
Yeah.
sometimes it's not on purpose, but I think people should be aware of what they're saying and pay more attention and try not to be, well, I don't know, trying not to discriminate or trying not to add hate.
I get it. I get it. In what other areas or situations, ladies, have you noticed this big difference on how women are treated differently than men and vice versa? Fair.
I'm going to retake what Saskia mentioned, this part of kind of sacrificing your femininity in order to be taken seriously. Like this happens in many spheres. It can be at work, it can be at school, it can be like just doing your thing, you know? And it happens a lot with women who have like careers in STEM, so in science, tech, maths, engineering. I have a very close friend who suffered from this, like her whole life. Like the first, let's say, semesters of her degree, she was trying to fit in so hard that she lost this sense of herself. And like she noticed that and she was like, you know, I don't have to do this. I can just like, I can be taken seriously without needing to be masculine or needing to express myself like a man. And I so admire her because it was so fun. And so like I adored like looking at her presentations. She worked in like programming, and you can see like all the boys wearing like their hoodies and stuff like that, and she would wear like the most colorful dresses and the most colorful like skirts, because it was making a statement like, yeah, I'm here and I'm doing this and I'm doing it being me, you know. So like that felt so powerful. I really love my friend because of that. But yeah, and I guess that's like a universal experience, maybe this part of having to not be feminine, having to not be yourself, having to not be a woman, just to be heard, you know? And it happens again in many different ways, even in matters of social justice and activism. Sometimes, and you see it a lot, sometimes like men who voice their concerns are celebrated, while we as women are only being called like complainers and, oh, you're just mad, or oh, you need to like chill, you know. But when a man does it, he's praised and he's all over the news. And
Yeah.
so yeah.
Saskia, In what other situations or environments have you noticed that men are treated differently than women and vice versa?
Just to continue with what Fer said, I think like yes, in some areas you don't have to be feminine. You have to lose your femininity to be considered or to be taken the same. But in some areas you need to be extremely feminine because if not, you're not considered. And it's like, oh, but you're a woman. Why don't you dress like this? Why don't you look like this? So it's not even coherent. Like people want you to be those completely opposite persons at the same time in different contexts, depending on what they like. So it's just nonsense. And for example, when I was studying university, I had a really close relationship with one of my teachers. She was really nice, and we just liked to talk about math. And she helped me with my thesis. So we just spent too much time together talking about math. And I also was really interested about her like personal experience because, well, we know, without saying it, that it's not very easy to study math or computer science as a woman because there's so many guys and you'll be treated differently. So I asked her what was her experience. And she said that at the beginning, she wasn't respected at all. So she had to learn to say bad words. She had to learn to stand up for herself. And she had to learn, like, if somebody is going to be aggressive, I'm going to be aggressive back. And I'm going to be double as aggressive as that guy was. So he understands he's going to respect me. And she was very respected in the university. I don't know if that's the correct way. I think you shouldn't change who you are just to be respected. And I knew other teachers that weren't respected at all, that, I don't know, they could never get higher positions because they were women and they weren't allowed to speak up and they were feminine. And yeah, guys were the ones that got the higher positions, like they were the head of department because those women that didn't speak up couldn't be. So
Wow.
it's really disgusting.
Yeah, and it happens like even if you are as capable or more capable than, you still can't climb. Like there's this barrier that you just can't cross because of sexism.
Yeah. And even if you cross it, sometimes you don't get the respect or the
Recognition.
credit for what you did. Yes, exactly. Like for example, I got a scholarship to go to study 6 months in another place abroad, and people said, "Oh yes, but you're a woman, and right now they're helping women to get scholarships. So it didn't have to do with my grades. It didn't have to do that I've been working 3.5 years to get the best grades. So it just didn't matter." And also, for example, after I got my first job, one of my friends who supposedly like understands me and know how much I've worked said like, "Oh yes, you got a first job because, well, you're pretty and you're a woman and probably they wanted like to work with somebody different." And it's like, "Dude, I worked so hard to be here. Why don't you just recognize that?" I don't know. That's really horrible.
It is. It is. It is. It is. This actually has been a hard show, but thank you so much for hanging in there. And now I would like to approach from your. I would like to approach this matter from your different situations or different actions that you have made throughout your life. For example, Fer, as I understand, you have already written a thesis. Can you tell me what is it about?
Yeah, so I studied applied linguistics at university. So my thesis was on discourse analysis of tweets regarding the hashtag Ni Una Menos, which is a movement here in Mexico, to kind of expose and create some sympathy for femicide victims. and I wanted to analyze like what was being transmitted through Twitter by different groups, so women, men, and also like news accounts. We're not going to take those into account, but this emerged because I noticed, like, just browsing online, whenever the topic of feminism or these kind of movements came out, there would always be comments of men trying to attack this movement, trying to attack the victims. So, like, I just wanted to see, like, are they actually responding this way? And so I analyzed the emotional responses through language in these different groups. And surprisingly, I found that in Twitter, at least, there were no men attacking the movement or anything like that. Because in the end, in Twitter, if you are using the hashtag, it's because you care about it. You kind of align with the values of what is being discussed. So there was a lot of support. What is curious is that while women and sometimes the news accounts reflected the fear that people were feeling, like the fear that you as a woman feel for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for your nation, like women all around the country are disappearing and nobody's doing anything. Men never expressed this. Like there was never a trace of men talking about feeling fear, not for themselves, even like for their sisters, mothers, friends. They never expressed this, and like we correlated it to them not really feeling how we feel, you know, like going out in the street, like you don't, it is hard for men to understand how it really feels to hear different names in the news every single day, to walk to your house or to your school, to your work, and just like be threatened, you know? So, yeah, that is what I've done. And I love analyzing discourse in social media. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, okay. Now, I'm sorry. Now, Saskia, as I understand, you have checked out some essays also about the matter, a lot of information that you have checked out. What have you learned about it, and how has this influenced your views on feminism?
Okay, just before I start with the essays, I would like to say that I started reading them because I really like to discuss feminism with other people and also with guys, because I think it's really important to let them know how we're feeling, why also guys need to be feminists. And many times I couldn't like explain my ideas. Like I just explained my emotions and what was happening, but that didn't get through. So I'm trying to study like where it comes from, why do we need feminism right now, and reading about it kind of helps understand. Well, it really helps understand more, and it kind of helps explain better. And there is one really cool book. It's a really tiny book that is called "We Should All Be Feminists" from Chimamanda. I forgot her last name. She is an African writer, and she just explains like her opinion, like we're doing now, but she writes it nicer. And she just shows why it's so important for everybody to help, for everybody to try to understand. And I think it's really important to understand both perspectives, because women are not the only ones that are feeling things and that are being discriminated by the system we are now. Yes, I think probably it's worse, but I think men are also feeling many things. And I think that it's important to tune in with that, because if they understand that they are also being discriminated, then they can join the cause. Like I was talking with my friends just a couple of days ago, and they were one of my friends visited a guy, and he brought a date, and he paid everything from his date, everything. The girl wanted an extra beer, and my friend wasn't drinking anymore, but she was like, "Oh, come, pay my beer, and then continue talking with your friends." And she works, she earns money. So for me, that was completely like incoherent. If both people make money, then why should the guy pay just because it's a custom? Also, for example, I don't think it's fair that just men go to war. I hate war, but I think if we want to be equal, women should also go. Or, for example, there are buses in Mexico City that are just for women. And I understand that's to help women feel safe. And I do feel much safer in a bus for women or in this women's part of the subway. But that's not the solution. That's not making guys more conscious or girls more conscious. That's just like putting a band-aid on it and not healing the problem. And I think it's creating more hate between the sexes because, for example, in the buses, well, let's face it, there are more guys, at least in the routes I was using, like to Santa Fe, more guys working. So then it was a problem because when buses came, they couldn't get in. So they had to wait 2 or 3 hours to get on the bus just because there were more buses for women, and the buses for women were empty. So there are many things that both sexes are fighting with. Also, for example, guys are supposed to be very fierce, and they're supposed to not have feelings, and they can't cry. And that's wrong. Everybody can have feelings. Everybody can cry. So I think it's very important to see it both ways and to just understand where everything comes from. Like everything is a historic or something cultural, and culture changes all the time. It has changed lots of times. Like laws have changed for helping women get into the workforce. We're able to vote, but we have to take it farther. It's not just the laws. We have to change it. We have to change how people think, how people act, and I think that's the most important part. And just reading helps you understand like where the struggle comes from, when it began, how the laws have changed. And I think we've gone really far in the years feminism has started. Like I read a book called A Room from Oneself, and it was very long ago, and there women could go to universities, but couldn't enter the same classes as men. They couldn't go to libraries or bookstores, so they couldn't get the same knowledge as guys. And now we can, and that's really, really cool. But we still don't have the same availability maybe to study, because even if you can enter a university, sometimes girls are like told by their parents or by their family, oh, but that's not something that girls will study. And do you want to be, for example, an architect or work in civil engineering? Because that's for guys and nobody's going to respect you there. So why do we not help them be respected instead of stop them doing those things?
So, just to wrap things up, I understand you guys are quite young, but you are from different generations. So I just want to, in general terms, what is your perspective as a woman from your respective generations? How do you feel in modern society, and what are we facing next, Fer?
Okay, so I mean, my generation is characterized by social media, you know? So, like, activism on social media is one of the greatest staples to it. And what I think is the best part of this is, as you said, it gives us the chance to listen to other experiences. Because, like, I know that I hold certain privilege, like, even if I'm a woman and I am systematically oppressed by that, that doesn't mean my oppression is the same as someone else living even in the same city as I do, Like, there are different battles to be fought regarding racialized women, queer women, poor women, disabled women. So, like, there's a lot of things that you can learn, and you can learn it online, and you can learn it by listening to others, like you said. So I think that is one of the greatest advantages that my generation has. And I feel that even if people don't agree with the riots that happen because of this, like the noise that is being made because of these situations actually works. And you can see it because just, I think it was yesterday afternoon or today morning, I don't really remember, there was a new law approved regarding like feminist movement, which is to it's Ley Monse, and it's about not like they are also punishing people who help femicides, so like the idea is to cut their like resources, maybe like help that they might get from other people. And like this one, there's been a lot of progress. We talked about the laws some minutes ago. So like you might think it's just noise, you might think it's just like spraying paint onto things or walls, but it's actually doing something because it's making people see what's going on. It's making people conscious about that. And I mean, it is kind of working. So we should encourage each other and not try to tear each other down, And just before we wrap up, Saskia, you said you're reading and you're educating yourself, and I would really recommend Masculinities by Connell. Okay. This book completely like helped me and helped other of my like guy friends understand that, yeah, like misogyny is a problem for all of us, like not only women.
All right. All right. Saskia, what about you?
I think I also come from a really privileged perspective, and I think most of the people I know are also like studying and have works that can let you like live by yourself, or I don't know, it's really privileged for Mexico probably. But I think we also, well, I think my generation is like 25, 30, my friends are those ages. And we also use a lot of like Facebook, YouTube, things like that. And I think even if there is enough communication online, many people my age, I think, are taking it the wrong way. So they're feeling offended, they're feeling attacked. And I just really want to explain that we're not attacking, we're just looking for a difference, looking to be recognized, looking not to be killed just for walking down the streets. And I think there are two sides to the internet, I don't know, because you can look at testimonies of how people feel and like be sensibilized by that. But you can also concentrate just on hating and on cases where, I don't know, for example, somebody denounced that they were violated when that didn't really happen. And you can just look at all the cases where these laws and the things that are helping women are used the wrong way. And that happens, but it's a really few cases. And I think sometimes the internet is just making this really big and people are just concentrating on that. So I think you should really look at both sides and not just concentrate on the side you like, maybe.
All right. Ladies, This has been a this has been quite a learning experience for yours truly as well. And for that, and for taking the time for participating and sharing everything that you did, I thank you a lot. Unfortunately, our time has run out, but I trust this has also been a very interesting experience for all of our viewers. Like I said at the beginning, be sure to comment on the section, your own opinions, why not, your own perspective, and stay tuned weekly for the Let's Talk show. Fer was with us, Saskia as well, Eric Rios was in the controls. I am Mike Reese. Thank you very much once again, ladies. Goodbye, and good night.